is a life history event in which a female's probability of surviving changes with her level of expenditure. We have to sum up her lifetime reproductive success, and so we have to do this by simulation. We drew parameter values from the ranges randomly, and then calculated the lifetime reproductive success for a female practicing differential allocation, and then with the same parameter set for a female that would practice compensation, and we did that 7,000 times. And here are the results. The mean of fitness compensation minus fitness differential allocation is positive. And 57% of the parameter combinations compensation had the higher fitness. If we decompose fitness into survival, female survival, and offspring survival, there's some interesting patterns. This is lifespan, so the number of reproductive bouts that a female gets to have. So the mean lifespan of compensating females minus the mean lifespan of differential allocated females was insignificant. So these two strategies had the same reproductive lifespans. And you can see that differential allocation has the higher fitness up until we reach a point where mean male quality is 0, and that's right where we cross the line and go to compensation having the higher fitness. So this is just a function of the cost of reproduction. Down here, differentially allocating females are paying a low cost of reproduction because they're investing in low quality males, so they're not investing much, so they have many bouts of reproduction. Offspring survival, however, looks like this, where offspring born to compensating females have higher fitness down past male quality 0 to about male quality of 0.25. So as a consequence of the differences in slopes and intercepts of these two things, this is what fitness looks like as a function of mean male quality. In most of this space, compensation has a higher fitness than differential allocation. What about the 42.7% of the parameter combinations where differential allocation has a higher fitness? Either those are biologically realistic parameter spaces, or because we made this a general model with a maximum possible range of parameters, Doc could only win in a bogus, irrelevant parameter space. So this is how we tried to evaluate that. Scott and I played around with a number of different ways of expressing this. In these plots, if differential allocation wins, it's blue, and if compensation wins, it's red. And we're plotting in each of these panels average male quality on the y-axis against these other parameters. And these are the main parameters and combinations of parameters that came out in various methods such as logistic regression. So first thing to notice is that most of these panels are red. Then there are some specific and often kind of weird cases where the panel is blue. One is here. Differential allocation wins when there's an insanely high cost of reproduction and males are lousy quality. Differential allocation also wins when there are very tiny maternal effects and males are low quality, and also when other indications of the level of maternal expenditure, maternal resource, and maximum maternal investment are also very low. Differential allocation wins in this case when there is exceedingly high extrinsic mortality. And this essentially describes seminal parity, so this is irrelevant to an interparous organism. And finally, differential allocation has this moderate amount of winning when there is a huge parental effect but low male quality. This is describing a situation in which females contribute almost nothing to offspring quality. So we concluded that across these parameter combinations that are really pertinent to female allocation decisions, compensation should generally be favored over differential allocation, and only when there's a high survival cost of reproduction and males of generally poor quality do we expect differential allocation to win. And here it's weird. The only reason differential allocation wins is because of the survival benefit. Females that are selecting males from this low mean distribution don't invest much because they're just continually low quality males. So they have many bouts of not investing much in offspring, so they survive a long time. And that's the advantage differential allocation gets. And that's not the original benefit of differential allocation that was predicted in the contradiction between our model results and the published evidence in favor of differential allocation. I think there isn't, because the published studies have focused mainly on male ornaments that the authors have assumed but haven't proven to be indicative of sire value for offspring performance. What empirical evidence would you need to really nail down this hypothesis? You would have to show that female choice in nature occurs, that it's based on male characters that are reliably assigned with male breeding value for offspring performance, and that in nature females show adjustment in reproductive expenditure in offspring based on the breeding value of the male. That sounds like a tall order, and I wonder if anybody has amassed those sorts of data. I have. In pronghorn, there is high variance in male breeding success. It's caused by female choice. Females' conversion of choices in a small population subset of males. And these males that are commonly chosen by females have a relatively strong effect on offspring survival. And also, we were able to measure maternal expenditure by focal sampling of suckling rate during peak lactation. So, we did focal observations of fawns to measure suckling rate, 34 fawns, a couple thousand hours of observation, and all the sires were assigned after the suckling observations were completed. We plotted for each fawn, we plotted suckling rate, minutes of suckling per hour of observation against age, fitted a logarithmic curve to those points, found the integral of the equation between the ages of peak lactation, and that gave us an estimate of total minutes suckling during the ages of peak lactation. And then we plotted these estimates against milk delivery for each fawn against the attractiveness of the sire. And this is the result. When a fawn is sired by attractive males, then that fawn has low rates of milk consumption. And this is not because these fawns demand milk less. These fawns have high rates of rejecting suckle attempts. The mothers are simply cutting them off. Because I've studied pronghorn for many years, I know where they are pretty much in parameter space. What I don't know is the real distribution of males, because some males never breed, so I don't, some males have high breeding value, but some males never breed, so I'll just assign the mean of males, male quality to 0. There's no detectable cost of reproduction in pronghorn. I've measured that, so they're about there. There's a strong maternal effect because they're mammals, so they're over here. The survival probability I've shown is quite high, so they're over here. The parental effect is moderate, so paternal effect is moderate, so they're here. The level of maternal expenditure in pronghorn is exceedingly high in ungulates and in mammals, so they're over here. So a species in which all the conditions necessary to really satisfy the hypothesis have been shown to be true fits on our parameter space where they ought to compensate, and they do. All the published species studies supporting DA have either used domestic or semi-domestic animals in captivity and/or didn't follow the natural mate selection of females and/or didn't show that male traits that were studied or manipulated actually indicated male breeding value. And a significant shortcoming of these studies is they all focused on a male characteristic that the authors assumed to be associated with male breeding value, but hasn't been shown in nature to have that association.